Thank you, Dr. Fleming, and thank you, Palm Beach Atlantic University, for this honor. I have been to many of these events over the years when my friends were being honored. But trust me, it's different when you're up here. It's different when you get that call during the summertime from Denise Hanlon, who tells you in her most joyful voice that you have been nominated for this honor. So I thank Denise and I thank the committee for this. I know I've reached a certain part of the road of life when Donnie introduces me. I knew this was so funny. Donnie is my friend, but I also look back a few years. She was a friend of Nancy Lynn's and Heather's, and she went to college with JB, and all of a sudden, she's introducing me. That's what life in a small town is about. Speaking of remembering, do you remember the movie Kramer versus Kramer? In the movie, Meryl Streep asked Dustin Hoffman, why can't a woman have the same expectations as a man? This is still a valid question 35 years later, when women are still expected to manage family, home, and career. Is it that the world thinks that women were born with a unique gene, one that combines tenacity and the art of juggling? I was very fortunate to have had a career in magazine publishing in New York City, both before and after I was married. Now this was so long ago that it really was another lifetime, but someplace in there. However, when we moved here, I moved my skills from the for-profit world to the not-for-profit world. I found work in the volunteer world to be as rewarding as the for-profit world, and I was fortunate enough to have the luxury of the support of my husband and my family as I went about these endeavors. There is really a cornucopia of stimulating volunteer jobs out there, and it gave me the chance to investigate the possibilities and to accept only the jobs that interested me and allowed me the flexibility to work around the demands of family. However, this table right over here will tell you that their mother never got them to birthday parties on time. So much for flexibility. The volunteer projects that I have embraced have stretched me, allowed me to know my community better, and develop a wide range of friendships. It has made my life more interesting and fulfilled, and if I decided to go back to work for a paycheck, my volunteer experience would have been a big part of my resume. Somewhere along the way, I discovered that even though I could balance my own checkbook, I needed an interpreter for most of the financial news in the Wall Street Journal. A friend of mine was going to get an executive MBA at Barry University, and I thought, that sounds like a good idea. So I go down and I'm interviewed by Sister Jean, who first observes that my transcript was on the old form. There was a message there. So she said that because I really hadn't had any math, that I would have to go back to be an intern to an accountant, or audit accounting. Well, do you know where I audited accounting? Class was in a building that is no longer there, but it was part of Palm Beach Atlantic College. It was taught by the husband of one of my friends, and the students were all very polite and said, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Several months ago, I was talking to a female lawyer who is a partner in a law firm. She told me that she understands the struggle that women have to juggle their professional and domestic lives, and that it was brought home to her one day when she said to herself, I was a really good lawyer today. And then she thought about other times when she had managed a family problem well, and she would think, I was a really good mother today. But then she realized that she never said them on the same day. That she would, either I was a good lawyer or a good mother. My volunteer experience has allowed me to blend them both together. But that tension is always the yin and yang of it. I have felt very blessed never to be pulled in this way, because in the volunteer world, I have been able to set my own priorities and timetables and not have some employer mandate my schedule. I have been fulfilled on my own schedule, and I love the camaraderie. I have learned so much from my fellow board members. I have laughed with them and always felt very secure when they said they had my back. Let me close. Before I close, I'd like to remind our scholarship winners, Lisa and Whitney, to make room in their lives for volunteer services. But in reading their wonderful biographies, they have already excelled in volunteer services. Let it long be a part of your life. Let me close by telling you a story about my favorite poem called Success. I first saw the poem in the program for a charity event. One of the patrons has sponsored a page and printed the poem, Success. I loved it. I tore it out and have it pasted in the closet in my room, where I see it every day. It has become sort of a mantra for me, and I am sure you know it well. He has achieved success who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much, who has gained the respect of intelligent men and the love of little children, who has filled his niche and accomplished his task, who has left the world better than he found it, whether by an improved copy, a perfect home, or a rescued soul, who has never lacked appreciation of Earth's beauty or failed to express it, who has always looked for the best in others and given the best he had. Now, according to the page in my program, Success was written by Robert Louis Stevenson. As I copied the poem for this occasion, I started to wonder where in Stevenson's work to find this poem. In fact, the more I thought about it, it didn't even sound like Robert Louis Stevenson. Then I found out that it had once been attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson. He seems to be getting a lot of play here today. But further research showed that the original author was Bessie Stanley, who wrote the poem in 1905 for a contest with the title, What Constitutes Success? The contest was sponsored by a newspaper in Lincoln, Nebraska, and the work had to be 100 words or less as they discussed the subject. This scholar was convinced that Bessie indeed was the true author because the poem in its entirety is engraved on Bessie's tombstone. This intriguing piece of literary detective work, but it shows how easily the creative efforts of women were sometime overlooked. So thank you, Dr. Fleming and Palm Beach Atlantic University, for giving women a platform so that they can be heard and recognized. And thank you for honoring me today.